Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
And beer.
and Beer. Just two crazy Florida Virgos talking about true crime. and yesterday was my birthday. Tomorrow
Mine.
is hers, and that is Sandra. You gonna introduce me?
I don't know who you are. That dude's Bill. I don't know. That's Bill.
that guy.
The guy who runs this whole thing that I'm just kind of here for. So.
No, and you're great. You've been, our listeners apparently love you. I know that some of my podcaster friends love you already. They like you're great. And that's off of one episode, because the second episode that we recorded hasn't been released yet. So
Well, and this time, this episode you can actually see me because, like I mentioned, I did get a new webcam. I know
it looks great, by the way.
This episode that'll be coming out will be a little dark, but hey, this one, there you go.
And then the next episode, you'll have a better mic.
Yes, hopefully. I'm gonna try and get that set up. We'll see how successful or unsuccessful I am.
Yeah, but I know from experience, not with my personal experience, but a friend of mine, Matt from the Mighty Murder Coaster, he has the exact same mic. So, and it sounds good. So, so we're good. So
I chose wisely.
You chose wisely. I got that reference. Last Crusade.
You did. See, even though after this birthday, I do feel like I drank from the wrong grail. So.
You say that after everything that we talked about prior to us starting this episode. That's the. I was born in a box that said "fragile handle with care," and they dropped it.
Well, you do have what 10 years on me? 10 years?
9.
9?
9.
Oh, okay, 9. You have 9 years on. Excuse me, I misspoke. You don't quite have a decade. You have 9.
Hey, my daughter's mother, she's, she was born in, she was 10 years younger than me.
So you're robbing the cradle. Got it.
She was 23. I was 33 when we met.
And she was robbing the grave. So.
God. Oh my God.
Perfect.
You're awesome. If you keep seeing me look this to my right, it's because I have the Dolphins game on, and they are currently losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars 17-7. So they actually got a touchdown. Yay! Woo! But so I mean, so that's on next to me, and that's why my camera's a little bit washed out, because the TV is like literally just a couple feet away from me. So
and when you get older, you get more pale too. So
God. Oh my God. When you turn 50, I am going to be brutal on you.
Yeah, but then you'll be 60, so I could just laugh at you. Okay.
Oh. See what I have to deal with?
You invited me.
I did. No, I love it.
me.
I love it. Don't worry about it. No, you're good. I love it. I love that you're going at me. That's hilarious.
Remember, you requested this. Okay, this is your fault. I'm just letting you know.
But anyway, let's get into the episode, shall we? This is an episode that I had done way early on with when Todd was the co-host. I think it was like episode 19. But Sandra here wanted to cover it, and but the original episode, it had track syncing issues, and it was so it was so early on that I'm sure that the second time around will be better. So it's just like it had tracking issues and everything, syncing issues, and it's kind of hard to listen to. So I had no problem redoing this one. So and don't
Bill,
go look.
Turn on your light.
Oh,
You didn't turn on
God
your light.
damn it.
There we go. Now it's official.
Yeah, must be that old age. My memory's going bad.
Dementia.
but but I had it sitting right next to me too. Jeez. But but yeah, this episode would be better the second time around. And this episode we're going back to Wisconsin again, but this time to Baraboo. And this is the case of the Bonebreaker Killer, Joe Clark and his two victims, Chris Steiner and a survivor named Thad Phillips, who were both teenagers. And Joe is also a teenager as well. Chris Steiner had just started a new job at McDonald's, and he had a shift on the morning of July 4th of 1994. His shift started around 7, but his parents went in to wake him up at 6:15 a.m. and he was gone. Chris's father told police that he had checked in on his son the night before at 10 o'clock, and he was in his bed, and that was the last time that anybody worth mentioning would see Chris alive. So there was an investigation, obviously, and it was found that the screen to a bottom floor bedroom the screen had been cut, and this was actually Chris's older brother's room, and Chris's brother had stayed out that night, so there was some stalking going on, and the stalker was actually pretty damn smart to go in, through a room that he knew was going to be empty.
You would have to know, like, you'd have to watch, like, who was in that room? Nobody? Perfect. And keep an eye on the movements. He probably also knew when this kid was going to work, too. When he left.
Probably. I mean, well, he might not have known that he had just started a job, but well, no, he did, and we'll get to that. I forgot about that. But there were muddy footprints found throughout the house, and there were two patio doors that had been left unlocked. So the police okay, it's going to be a little bit hard for me to get through this one because rather than just research the episode, I didn't have my notes from before, so I took the audio from it and ran it through AI to turn it into text, and I thought that I spent about 4 hours editing it, but apparently there's going to be some little things that AI got wrong that I missed. And
AI gives people 7 fingers. Okay, like
yeah.
Trust AI, man.
Well, I thought that I had gotten everything, but I hadn't on this one. So that might happen from time to time. But so, his parents and police initially agreed that the most likely scenario was that he was sneaking out to go to a party or to see a girl. It was the 4th of July, but that wasn't the case. I mean, he had just started his job and he was a responsible kid. He wasn't the type that would just ditch on his job just because. I mean, he was happy to have that job because now he's got money. I mean,
what little money you get from McDonald's. I think my first job working at McDonald's, I think I made $5.15 an hour. How much did you make, Bill? About 2 shekels?
When I started working, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour.
Oh. And yeah, that was big money. That was big money back then. I mean, you got
you bring home that.
$5.
You bring that biweekly check of $150. Holy shit! You're the man. You can afford to
buy a lot of gum and stuff for that. I mean, I think about what was important to me when I was like 17, and it's like magazines,
yeah,
shit like that.
So, fun fact about the fast food industry. A manager told me this. Of like a basic meal of like a burger, fries, and a Coke is based on what 1 hour's worth of labor is. So at the time when I first started working, at a fast food restaurant and everything, minimum wage was $3.35 an hour, and you could get, like Wendy's, you could get a single large fry large Coke for about $3.50. At the time. So, and it makes sense. And even right now, that same exact meal is probably about like $10 or $12, which is what minimum wage is now.
Oh yeah, I mean it's yeah, I remember when you used to go to Taco Bell and you could get 15 tacos for the price of what you can get now in a meal. It was like, oh look, 65-cent soft shell tacos. Yeah, fourth meal. Not anymore.
No.
R.I.P. the good old days.
Yeah, but they're trying to bring back like $5 meals with like a basic hamburger or whatever. But I don't know. I can't eat McDonald's hamburgers because they are freaking disgusting. And
I don't mind a McDonald's hamburger. There's not really any fast food hamburger that I really put my nose up at necessarily. I mean, if you're in a pinch, I'll eat. Just no onions. For every onion on that burger, I'll be very upset.
I hate onions too. I hate onions, but just a little fun fact. I mean, I like Wendy's. Wendy's burgers are good. Their fries, not so much.
They have potatoes. See, that's what I like about them. Their chili ain't bad either.
You can get a baked potato, and well, do you know where the chili meat comes from?
The alley cats, where from the burgers that they have left over, the leftover meat. Yeah.
Yep, they just toss them into a bucket. They sit at room temperature for the entire day. That bucket then goes into the walk-in, and then where it's cold, it's chilled, and then the next day they boil the living shit out of it and smash it up. So you're not going to get sick from it, but still you're because it's been boiled. It's not going to hurt you, but still it's just kind of disturbing to think of when you're like it's like, okay, this meat came out of a bucket that was sitting at room temperature all day long.
Can I get some bucket meat? Which coincidentally is kind of how they serve it too. I mean, they kind of slop it, not in a bucket, but in a little bowl. Yeah, here you go. Perfect. Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah, literally. But I got ahead of myself. The next thing I typed is, I remember when I started working when I was like 14 or 15. I don't remember how old I was, but when I thought my $150 biweekly paycheck that I got, I was balling, and I thought that I was the man.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I mean, I worked at McDonald's too. I mean, I remember it was it was I know it was $5.15 an hour, but I didn't work very much. I mean, because I was only working over summer. Right before I would go to college. So it was kind of like a summer job. My parents, I was lucky. I was never really made to work when I was in high school because I just had so many classes in high school that they're like,
Yeah. But hours went by, and then days, and Chris never came home. And another theory was, of course, it's something that comes up in every true crime case that involves a missing teenager, was Chris had run away. Police always say that, and he probably just ran away. But the parents didn't buy that because, like I said before, their son was excited about his new job, and the relationship that the family had, that they were close.
Did you ever run away as a kid, like when you got pissed off at your parents? Like I would pack a little suitcase and walk down the street. I'd tell my mom I'm running away, and sometimes she'd help me pack. It was funny because it's like I'd pack some stuff, and she's like, "Well, you're gonna be hungry, aren't you?" And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Would you want to take a sandwich? Yeah, I think so. That'd be good. You want something to drink? Yeah, that might be a good idea too. And she'd let me walk down the sidewalk with my little suitcase looking like some vagabond. Just she'd be like, bye. And then of course I'd sit at the park for a few hours,
And then you get hungry.
all pissed off. Come home like, is it dinner time? You want to eat? Yeah.
Yeah. But so on July 10th, 1994, the police have made a discovery, and a body was found in the Wisconsin River, and dental records confirmed that this was the body of Chris Steiner. The body had been badly decomposed and bloated because it had been in the water for a week and a half. But police had no clue how Chris ended up there. So basically, this was an unsolved case, and it would stay unsolved until like almost exactly a year later. This is when Thad Phillips enters the story. July 29th of 1995, 13-year-old Thad Phillips and his sister had fallen asleep on the couch. And they had been watching a movie they'd been watching a movie, and when they passed out, their father, just basically carried them and put them in bed. So, but his father got up for work at 4 a.m. and noticed that Thad was no longer in the house. And he was gone, and like with the Steiner case, police and his parents were stumped, and there were no signs that anything bad had taken place there. And the parents insisted that their son wouldn't just sneak out and take off.
That's weird. I mean, and the fact that there didn't appear to be a struggle, or there was no real signs of anything, and they didn't hear anything. That's what really makes it weird, because you would figure if your kid was kidnapped, they'd make some noise, they'd be screaming, they'd be thrashing, there'd be
we'll find out
something.
We'll find out what happened. We'll find out what happened with both of these later in the episode. But when Thad was initially found, he told police that they were new to the area, and this guy Joe Clark has kind of started befriending him. Joe was 17 years old, and so he was talking about a party that they were supposedly having at his house, and Clark even listed some of the names of two other boys that Thad knew who were also going to be attending this party. Once again, Joe Clark is doing his homework. He knows this new kid in the area. He knows, and he knows who this kid knows. So, that was just to get Thad's guard down so that he would be compliant. Yeah, this guy was very deviously brilliant, which, if he we'll get to speculation at the end of the episode, but so they got to Clark's house late that night, and there was nobody there. And Clark says, "Oh, they're coming. They're on the way. They're coming. Yeah, don't worry about it. They're coming."
Like the dragons in Game of Thrones. They're coming.
Yeah,
don't worry. Don't worry.
Winter is coming.
Eventually, in the 8th season.
Yeah. Nobody was coming. But Joe then took him upstairs, threw him on the bed, and this is where it gets nasty. He grabbed Thad's ankle and twisted it until it broke. Clark then... Yeah.
That's a lot of force. I mean, like, if you consider, like, if someone said, okay, you got to go over there and break this person's ankle, I mean, I almost would be like, how? Like,
yeah, and he did it with his bare hands. He wasn't like he wasn't like what's her name in Misery with a sledgehammer. I mean,
hobbling,
just that sledgehammer scene in Misery is like one of the most scenes.
That one really is when when she just uncovers his legs, and you already know, like, I mean, his legs are already broken horribly, which is why he can't walk. But then, when she's like, oh, this is what they used to do to slaves that ran away. Oh, don't worry, they didn't kill them. They just crippled them for life. This is what they used to do. And like, she's putting the block between his ankles, and he's begging her, like, Annie was her name. Yeah, Annie Wilkes.
Yeah, Annie, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, Annie, for God's sake, don't do that. Yeah, and
I think Misery was probably the best film adaptation of any of King's books. I think if it's not the best, it's definitely one of the best. But I can't think of one that was better. honestly, right off the top of my head.
Well, he couldn't even remember writing Cujo. He was so on
Baked.
so many drugs. He did like even Stephen King said later, like he was on so many drugs and everything. Like he literally does not remember writing Cujo.
That was a pretty good
And
adaptation. That was a pretty good Carrie was good. But
Carrie is
I,
very good. The Shining is good, but I mean it didn't follow the book as faithfully as
well, there was that
you might
remake
have wanted.
that TV miniseries remake that they did of The Shining. That was pretty good.
Oh, what was it? Doctor Sleep?
No, it was called The Shining, I believe.
Mm, I thought I thought there was one with The Shining, but I think it followed it followed Danny when he was an adult, and
Yeah,
I think it was called Doctor Sleep.
yeah. Let us know in the comments. I mean, I could Google it, but I'm already multitasking here, trying to watch the
I,
Dolphins
huh,
game and do a
see now I gotta
podcast.
Google it. I'm pretty sure like because I did watch it and it was Danny was an adult um and uh let me see and it was yeah different than um oh yeah Doctor Sleep. um so it follows Danny Torrance. um it's a struggling with alcoholism. He remains traumatized by the sinister events at the Overlook Hotel when he was a child. His hope for a peaceful existence soon becomes shattered when he meets Abra, a teen who shares his extrasensory gift of shining. And together they form an unlikely alliance to battle the True Knot, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal.
I'm gonna have to
So
watch that, but I'm pretty sure that they did do a TV miniseries remake of The Shining.
they probably did. I don't know, like, but that's what immediately came to mind was Doctor Sleep, and that was really good.
Yeah,
Um,
I haven't seen that one,
let's watch it.
but
Yeah, yeah.
we won't talk about the Langoliers. God, that was so bad. But Clark would then beat the snot out of Thad, and then after that, he had attempted to get away, and he found out that there were two sides of Clark. He would torture and beat Thad for hours and hours at a time, and he would stuff a towel into Thad's mouth and to muffle him. And then when he got done, they'd sit he'd sit him down on the couch and watch TV and just talk like nothing happened. It's like he had like there was good Thad and there was bad Thad.
Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah,
Oh
or
no.
not no good Joe, bad Joe, not Thad. Thad is the victim, but you're good Joe. I'm bad Joe. You're goody little two shoes. Goody little two shoes. Goody. Good.
I,
Bang. Good.
and that
Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
and I think like poor Thad must have been just because that's almost one of those things where you think like in order to survive, the only thing you can do is try and appeal to their
Mm-hmm.
good side.
Right.
Because you got to act like, okay, I'm your friend, I'm your friend. You don't really want to hurt me, like you want to, do this. We're friends, we're buddies. I'm being nice to you. We're cordial. Like that's, I mean, and to know like this guy's really crazy.
Yeah. But at one point Thad asked was like, "Why are you doing this, man?" And Clark just said, "I just like the sounds of bones breaking." So yeah, Clark was a really really nice boy. He's
So go get some bones from a butcher shop or something and
yeah
just break them. You can
yeah
enjoy the sound. I mean that's the what is it? The sounds that soothe people. What do they call them? The AM,
ambient noise,
the A,
ASMR.
yeah, AMSR. Yeah, it's like for
Yeah,
him, it's like oh, bones breaking. I saw it was so funny. An AMSR, and it was like dragon in a cave breathing. I'm like that is not comfortable who the hell would be like this? This really just relaxes me listening to a dragon in a cave and the water trickling down and hearing this deep, ominous breathing of something that's going to eat me. I mean, a part of me is like, do they have like Velociraptor AMSR, like when they're calling to each other? You're just like, oh, puts me right to sleep when I hear them coming. Like, what are you doing?
But I mean, I don't get that. It's just like you hear it. It's like people eating something with their mouth open.
Open mouth chew.
It's like, ugh, stop it.
Oh God, I'm gonna, see, I have some gummy worms here. I'm totally gonna, I really want to put one in my mouth and just chew one for you.
Please don't. Maybe we can start another playlist on YouTube for the AMSR, with Sandra. Sandra's
chewing with purpose. Sandra's AMSR, chewing gummy worms for 5 hours on loop. It will put you right to. Mm-hmm.
Wow,
that's so quietly.
That's so relaxing. But
I'll chew quietly. It's okay. Don't worry.
So then later Clark twisted Thad's leg really badly in a direction that it wasn't supposed to go until the thigh bone broke, and I can only imagine that I could probably take several hundred pounds of pressure before it breaks. I mean,
well, and he already had like a broken ankle or whatever, and I'm just like, is he just twisting it? Looks like one of those bendy erasers or something. He's just twisting it around, or like a Twizzler pull and peel. That must have been similar.
I mean, that's not the hardest bone in the body, but it's hard. It's hard enough to hold the femur in place, which is the hardest bone in the body, until it starts going bad, like my freaking hip. I mean, I cracked my hip in a mosh pit when I was like 19 or 20, and it was never the same after that.
Well, you crapped your hip falling down today, so
no, it's just sore and tight, and the funny thing is, every now and then I'll have to pop it, and just like when I'm trying to pop it, it hurts like hell, and when it does pop, it hurts like hell even more. But then once it pops, it's just like, oh. It's like almost orgasmic.
Okay, and that's a loud pop. I mean another thing for our AMSR, get nice joint popping noises, big back cracking. I know people that love listening to that stuff too, like chiropractic back cracking. It's like, this is the loudest crack ever. I'm like, why? I mean, like,
well, we're talking about one. We're talking about one right now.
Yikes. I don't know. Like, that sound to me is kind of, like hearing people crack their knuckles and stuff. I'm like, okay, like you cannot. I do it. See, if I do it, it's fine. But I'm back popping, that loud, like bowl, like I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, Joe should have gone to school and become a chiropractor.
Yes, because they crack your bones. They take X-rays, but it's pointless because all they're going to do is crack your bones. Like Eddie Izzard says, it looks like your mother. I'm going to crack your bones.
Well, they X-ray you. They X-ray you to make sure that there's not any like serious physical damage that would be made worse by doing that. That's why they X-ray you.
Or they just make it worse anyway because chiropractic medicine is kind of quackery. But it's okay.
Yeah, but so he did, he broke the hip bone, and then he jumped up and down on Thad's chest, and then to attempt to suffocate him. He would then break, after both of his legs were broken in two, he forced his legs into braces and made him walk around on his broken limbs. Like, it's Yeah, it's even more disgusting
I'll fix
that
you up.
and
Like, uh,
Joe
that's terrible.
Joe had even jerked off in front of him, like right
So,
after,
so he
right after.
wasn't lying. He wasn't. Someone was coming.
Oh my god. Oh my god. There was this. There's this podcast called The Cult Next Door, and it's about
Mm.
these people, this family whose dad was a cult leader, and they all just mass exited, you know at sometime like in 2020. But there is an audio clip of their dad talking, and I swear it is the creepiest thing that I have ever heard come out of the pastor's mouth. He says I'm paraphrasing here, but he says something along the lines of um God told me what it's like to be a new bride. God, he told me. Um, he's like, I'm going to get really graphic here, but if you can take it, we are coming for God. He's like, if you go beyond the veil, that's the wedding chamber. God told me that. I was like, ugh. You say that God wants to fuck me?
Yeah, apparently. Like, I mean, God wants you on your knees, right? That's the best position.
I mean,
It's
that
on
is
your
like,
knees before God.
but that is the creepiest thing that I have ever heard. I mean, it's just like, what the? It's
I mean, yeah, and then if you were, actually having sex, I mean, would you have to like say like I'm coming for God?
But that's what he said. That's what he actually said, that we are coming for God. I don't know if he meant we are like coming for him as far as like we are going to meet him or whatever. But
Or we're coming
but what he said after that
hard.
makes me think that that's not what he meant at all. It's just like, oh my god. And and pastors, cult leaders and everything, they're all like we are the children of God. So that has a incestuous ring to it. It's like, oh.
I mean, nuns are technically married to Jesus. So if a nun, masturbated or something, technically she'd be coming for God, right?
Oh god, that's horrible.
I tell me I'm wrong.
No, you're
I'm
not.
just making an association. Okay, like I said, I'm a recovering Catholic, so I can say these things. Okay.
The Dolphins just intercepted the Jaguars. Yay. But anyway, hashtag, but I digress. Uncomfortable. That might be the most uncomfortable digression that has ever been done on this show. But
Was it uncomfortable for the viewers? Let us know down below. Was it uncomfortable for you?
well, I mean, if go listen to that podcast, the Cult Next Door. Go listen to that podcast. It's like the lead in, like in most of their episodes intros. It's like right there. It's just like, ugh. But I mean it. He did that. He did that after causing excruciating pain to Thad, and this is something that came out in court, and Clark even admitted to it. So then, as if none of this had happened, Clark tended to the injuries. He would use makeshift casts out of bandages and socks and whatever else he could find, and then he would carry him downstairs. And like I said before, then he'd watch TV and talk to him. And there's speculation that Clark may have had a sock fetish because he would dress that in long white socks over and over. Now, keep in mind though, although he was bleeding internally at this point, his skin hadn't been broken, other than places like his nose and lip where Clark had punched that. And Thad had asked Clark several times why he was doing this, and like I mentioned before, Clark said that he got off on the sounds of bones breaking. But Clark also had a case of the word vomit, and he even said that there were two other victims that he had, and he named one of these boys as Chris, but he couldn't recall the second, the second name of his supposed second victim. I don't think that there was, but there a second victim prior to Thad never came out. But we know now, obviously, that this Chris that he was talking about was Chris Steiner.
You would think that, I mean, you would think that if he enjoyed this as much as he did, that he would remember intimate details about who it was and what he'd done to them. I mean,
well, unless he just
that would make
grabbed
sense to me.
Unless he just grabbed the guy off the street.
I guess, but even then, I mean, he seemed to not he didn't kill him right away. I mean, he enjoyed keeping them around and being very twisted. He kept Thad around and he would bring him down and talk to him and then bring him back up for more torture. It was like, as long as he could keep him alive, he was going to keep him alive to torture him.
Yeah.
So I would think he'd get to know his victim after.
Yeah, but I don't think there was a third victim. During Thad's ordeal, Clark would just lock him in a closet and then he would go on his daily routines like there was nothing wrong. And I'm wondering, where in the hell were Clark's parents?
Yeah, that was, I'm like, did this kid live alone? Like, he had his own place, or?
I don't think he had his own place.
But that's interesting. Yeah, because he was only, 17, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this isn't like, some of those cases where they, where the parents just had an unruly kid. They just bought them their own, got them their own place to, just to keep them, out of their head or, out of their hair or whatever.
Or maybe they were just neglectful and left and.
Well, they could have been. My theory is they were just on like an extended vacation or something like that.
Probably, because what are you gonna do? You can't keep them in the house forever. If your parents are coming home from work or something like that, you're not gonna be able to hide
right
the bodies. Yeah, Mom, don't go in my closet. There's a kid I'm torturing in there.
Yeah, but he was so confident that Thad wasn't going to be able to get out of the closet. He had 2 broken legs, so what was he going to do? This whole ordeal went on for like 2 days straight, and at this point, he had the same injury on both of his legs. The femur and the ankle on both legs broken, as well as 1 broken knee. And for shits and giggles, Clark had to add injury to injury a couple of times. I mean, he would drag him up to the top of the stairs and just throw him down. And I'd like to beat Clark with a sack of hammers.
I have mixed feelings about the death penalty and stuff like that, but with people like this who don't just kill somebody, they torture them. They really go out of their way to inflict pain and psychological damage. Those are the kind of people where I'm like, you know what? I don't know. When they say cruel and unusual punishment, I kind of just go, I don't really care.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, it's like, since I started doing this podcast, I'm just like, like if a killer comes out and just like, give me the death penalty. Those are the people, life in prison. But
and in a little box, you can send them to the Supermax prison where they can sit in their little isolated box for all eternity.
Yeah. I mean, no, but the people that come out and say, "Give me the death penalty," they just want an easy way out. So you obviously don't want to give them the death penalty. So you do the opposite of what they want.
I think when they say that there was a botched execution and this person suffered, I just shake my head and go, and
it's like, yeah, your point.
And again, I know that there are people in prison that didn't commit the crimes that they're accused of, and and of course, see, to me, I feel like the death penalty should only really be if they have DNA
100%
evidence. Well,
DNA.
yes, like
Well, but
this person
now
did
I
it.
mean these innocent people, being thrown in prison and everything because of DNA and how exclusive, how perfect the science has become. Those are probably, I would assume that there's probably happening a lot less now than they used
Oh
to,
yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I'm sure they are.
which is good. So but yeah, but still, I mean, there's still people out there that, I mean, the West Memphis Three. I mean, that's a case that we'll cover at some point, but that's a big one. Um, that those guys, those three guys were innocent. They didn't do it, and they were in prison for like 20 something years. One of them had received the death penalty. And but they're out now, and
Mhm.
they're still working to to prove their innocence, due to DNA and all this. It's a fucked up story. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it's a
No, and you can't make up time. I mean, you can't. How do you make up for someone's life that you took away while they were in prison for 20?
yeah,
And
they got
they're going to be changed forever. I mean, you don't just walk away from that a free person and just start living your life.
no
There's no way.
no the main guy, the guy that had gotten the death penalty. I mean, they were released. They took an Alfred plea, which basically is like it's like, you know we say that we're not guilty. You have enough evidence to convict us, but we're still not guilty, but we're still guilty, but we're letting you out anyway. It's they're out, but according to the state of Arkansas, they are still guilty of those crimes, which is, it's bullshit, but at least they're out. you know I mean, it's a crazy case. I mean, that's one that I'm waiting on. I'm waiting on doing, and I have a feeling that our listeners will really like it when we actually do that one.
Mm.
And
When
but
we do that one,
when we
yes.
do that one, but but yeah, it's an infuriating case and everything, and it had took place in the Satanic Panic, and I love Satanic Panic stories. It's just like insane. Those are just crazy. But anyway, hashtag. But I digress. So he tried to escape the closet one time, and that's basically that's what caused him to get thrown down the stairs. Punishment. Like, how dare you try to escape me? Take
How dare
that.
you get away from my torture? I'll just torture you worse.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, yeah. I don't know what the sound of a fall down the flight of stairs, but we'll just go with we'll just go with that. So on the last day of his captivity, he's in the closet, and he did manage to get out, and he found a guitar in the closet, and he used the guitar to break the door. Yeah, some sources say that it was an acoustic guitar, but I don't buy that, because you're not breaking down a door with an acoustic guitar. They're not built that way.
They're
It
not very sturdy.
Yeah, it was probably like a knockoff of a Gibson Les Paul. Yeah, because it would have to be a knockoff, because this chucklehead couldn't afford a regular Gibson Les Paul. but but yeah, but even then, I mean, if you ram the headstock into a door on a Gibson Les Paul, the headstock would break.
Yeah.
I mean,
Probably using the body, like the bottom of
the
the
body,
body,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I have a Gibson Les Paul in a guitar case in my closet right now with a broken headstock, and one of these days I'm going to have it fixed. But
Even in the case, though, I mean, I would think if it was in the case, I mean, you might be able to use it a lot better. I mean, you have,
well, it has a
because
broken
the
head.
case is
It's
sturdy,
no, but the
you know.
the headstock is broken.
Oh,
No,
fair.
it was on a guitar stand, and I bumped into it and knocked it over, and snap. But
Well, I
yeah,
meant Thad. Like
but
if it was in a hard case, maybe
yeah, maybe.
it would help.
But I don't think it was a acoustic guitar. It was some sort of an electric guitar. But at this point, all Thad could do was slither, and once he got to the stairs, he tried to get up and he couldn't. So he threw himself down the stairs. This kid was a fucking machine. He was a fucking gladiator.
Oh my God, poor thing. I mean, I hope maybe he like turned to the side and rolled a little bit or something, or just
Yeah, but he wasn't
belly
able to.
thumped.
He was or like slither or something. It's like a snake or whatever. But
Wasn't that a
it,
horror movie, Slither? Like where like
pro-
there was someone turned into a snake or something?
probably.
Thinking of bad horror movies, I could have sworn that was a bad horror movie with some snake guy or something. But again, I digress. So
Probably. But but in the original recording, we nicknamed Thad we nicknamed him Thad the Durable as an homage to Michael Malloy, aka Mike the Durable, and that was our very first episode, The Death of Michael Malloy. So check it out if you haven't. And surprisingly, that episode holds up. It holds up to current episodes. I mean, it's a little rough around the edges and everything, but still, it's just like as far as that story is concerned, it holds up. That's like the best. I think that's the best of the early episodes. But this was totally fight or flight or freeze, and I would have to say it was a combination of fight and flight because he knew that he was going to die if he didn't escape. So survival mode had kicked in, and although just giving up did cross his mind, but not for long. I was going to bring up the Joe Theismann injury, but Joe Theismann never played again after that injury. So, Thad would look at Joe Theismann and be like, amateur.
Get up, run on that broken limb. Let's go.
I only bring up Joe Theismann because I'm got a football game going on right here. But
see, if you're going to bring up any football references, I'm going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So
that's fun. I mean, I'm just glad I've got the setup right here because I can't see the main TV from where I'm at. I can't see it. So,
no.
So I have a TV set up right here, right next to me. Hold on. Oh, I'll cut this out of the audio version, but for all you listening on video. Yeah. So
I'll just shake my head at you. It's okay.
Hey, I've got my little man cave in my living room, so my recording studio.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. I'm not judging. I am judging, but I'll say I'm not.
I still have a good sized living room area. I have a really big living room. I really
Sure
do.
You do. It's okay. I believe you.
I do. You should come over sometime and we'll record an episode face to face. And plus, there's that whole thing. It's like I got to write a song for a metal duet for the two of us. I haven't forgotten about that.
Well, now I'm like, as long as you're not like, hey, come over. There's gonna be a party
at 4 a.m. The people they're coming. They'll be here.
Don't worry. I don't know. I mean. For all you listeners, okay, Bill's inviting me to his house. So if I ever disappear, okay, check his living room and closets first.
Oh God, I'd be stupid to harm my amazing co-host that my listeners seem to love. Our listeners.
Our listeners. Yeah, our listeners know.
So once he got down the flight of stairs, he found a phone, and it was a phone on the
Phone on the wall?
That's it. Luckily, it was one of the phones that had the buttons on the handset. Because if it was one of the ones that had the buttons like on the
yeah,
other part, he'd have
the
been screwed.
base or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
The
rotary
cradle.
phone on the wall.
Yeah. He'd have been screwed. He'd never been able to get up to the cradle. So he grabbed something and he knocked down the handset and he dialed 911. Yeah, he told the operator that he had been held captive and he was been tortured by an older boy who had kidnapped him. And he wasn't able to tell the operator who the boy was, or where he was being held, but they were able to trace the call, and emergency services got there within 30 minutes. Because, if it's more than 30 minutes, your ambulance ride is free.
No. No.
No.
I saw a meme recently, and it was like the American healthcare system, and it was it was Debbie from Addams Family 2 holding the gun, and it's like, I want you dead and I want your money. Like that is an accurate statement about our healthcare system.
Yeah. But those 30 minutes must have been the most excruciating, because he had to have been wondering, like, what happens if Joe Clark gets back before they get here? Because if he had found him out of the closet, you got to figure that the phone's probably still sitting there, once they hung up, because he wouldn't have been able to hang the phone back up. So the first thing Joe would have heard when he walked into the house would have been the,
Yeah.
But,
yeah, and at that point, he either would have taken him somewhere else, I'm sure, dragged him off, or killed him, or just killed him and dragged his corpse somewhere else. Or,
but I'm also thinking that they probably didn't. I'm thinking that they probably didn't, hang up with him. They probably stayed on the line with him the entire time. Because they usually do. If you listen to a lot of 911, it's like, I'm gonna stay on the line with you until the emergency services get there, or whatever, until the police or the ambulance or whatever gets there. They probably stayed on the line with them.
They usually do, and it's and I've heard ones where the person can't talk, they're being detained or something, and there's someone in the next room, and they're like, I can't talk. And usually the operator's like, if you can't say anything, just be quiet,
Right. I mean, most of those 911 operators are great people, although I've heard some really, really shitty people on 911 calls.
Oh, yeah. I think there was I can't remember, some woman who drowned in her car, like she was.
Yeah, I've heard that one. That is like, and the bitch that was on the operator was just like, "Would you stop? Would you chill out?" And meanwhile, the waters, the flood waters are rising and everything, and then she drowned.
Whining. Yeah, she died, and I can't. That's something where I feel like certain people. And they say that 911 operator might have been having an existential crisis or so. But I don't care. I mean, if that's that job, your whole job is to be a calming presence, to reassure, to help, to be compassionate. That's your whole job, kind of, like Swango. I mean,
Yeah.
his whole job was to not kill people, to keep them alive, and he did the exact opposite. And
Swango.
That's just evil.
Yeah. But Joe Clark had been out partying with his girlfriend. I can't believe somebody actually, let this puke touch her. But
She probably didn't know. I hope to God.
Well,
she didn't.
Obviously she didn't. She didn't know. But when the police arrived, they found Thad. He was obviously in really bad shape, and he was rushed to the hospital. Like I said earlier, he had serious internal bleeding, and his body was, as they described, it was something like you would see if somebody had been in a really bad car accident.
Oh.
His legs were
all
broken.
Mangled.
Yeah. His his legs were broken in 4 places. But take a deep breath because this is bad. His twisted feet had their skin reminiscent of like hard rubber that had been twisted. His toes were pointing in the wrong direction. His feet were pointing in the wrong direction.
Oh.
Yeah. The doctors, after they started working on it, they said that, if he hadn't managed to get out of there, he probably would have died within a couple of hours, because of all the internal bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, yeah. So
yeah,
good on
that's
you,
pretty
Thad.
horrific.
Good on you, Thad. But the police knew who they were looking for, but they couldn't find him. They had searched various teen parties, and then finally they did a stakeout at the house, and and he was arrested. And this was probably around 4 hours after Thad had called 911. Clark later said that he kind of knew that Thad was probably going to die, so he was just probably, getting out of the house to let him die. But I mean, this guy's so.
Let me go away while you die quietly, and
Yeah.
I'll get rid of you.
But it was also determined that the girlfriend had no idea about this. But still, once again, where the hell were his parents? I mean, he's only 17 years old. I mean, I still think that they were probably on like an extended vacation or whatever, like a 2 week long, like Alaska, like tour Alaska type of thing or whatever, But
And what and when I think about it too, though, didn't his parents have any inkling that their kid was a bit crazy, a bit
fucked in the
off
head.
kilter? Yeah, like
But
I mean,
that's something that doesn't show up anywhere in this. In this, there's nothing about his parents that I could find. And I even looked again when it's like after I did the AI thing, I was looking for more information. I found some more information, that'll be at the end of the episode. But, it's like I couldn't find anything about his parents. Maybe I was looking in the wrong place or whatever. Listeners, let us know if you found something about his parents. But I looked, I couldn't find anything. This wasn't like a flop house or anything. There was a phone line hooked up. There was cable TV in the house. The electricity was on. So it's not like it was an abandoned house or anything like that.
right?
Yeah,
Someone
those
clearly
old
lived there.
yeah those old landlines. They're not like cell phones. Are now where even a deactivated cell phone could still call 911. With those landlines, if the line's turned off, you can't call 911. Like in other words, pay your phone bill or die.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean nowadays it's any cell phone regardless will call 911, that.
Right. I mean, I could, like if I had one of those old Nokia phones that are like stronger than freaking titanium, if I had one of those in a drawer and something happened, I could power it on and call 911 and be connected. But when the police, this is crazy. When the police searched the house, they found a journal with a list of local boys that was basically a hit list. And this list contained 29 names, and they had 33 different headings. One was can wait, the other was get to now, and then the other was the leg thing. So he was well on his way to becoming a serial killer, but at this point he had only killed one person, maybe two, but that other one hasn't come out yet. There's just no evidence of a second victim that died.
Right.
So too, that doesn't make him a serial killer.
No, but he was definitely. It wasn't for lack of trying.
Right.
Put it that way.
But he had gotten away with the Chris Steiner murder, and he probably would have gotten away with Thad's murder if Thad had died. Um, Clark admitted that he had taken Thad from his house, but it was just to hang out. He's like, I just wanted to hang out with him. Oh, yeah. So you gotta take a 13-year-old kid out of his house in the middle of the night just to hang out? Bullshit. you know. Clark, when asked about the injuries that had been done to Thad, he just said, "Well, I did black out," and of course he said that. Of course he blacked out. But
Yeah.
you don't black out and do that to somebody. So he was charged with attempted first-degree intentional homicide. He was charged with causing great bodily harm to a child, mayhem, intent to disable or disfigure, and for kidnapping. He was also charged with causing mental harm to a child and child enticement. He pled no contest and not guilty by reason of a mental disease or defect. So,
Well, I mean, clearly he had a mental disease or defect, but unfortunately,
yeah, you don't get to mutilate
no.
somebody and get away with it. Like,
Mm.
oh, it's okay. It's okay. Come here. Let me give you a hug. You have a nice day. No, it don't work. It's
Oh,
like, sorry, Joe.
sorry, you're mentally deficient, but oh Lord.
As far as this is new information that I didn't have before. As far as Clark's parents, the defense argued that his biological mother had been a heavy drug user throughout the pregnancy. So, and he had also suffered a head injury in a bike wreck at the year before.
Mm.
Bullshit.
Always with the childhood head injuries, you know. Like, I
Well, I
mean,
mean,
I
a
get
lot of a
it
lot of
it
serial
can
killers,
happen.
a lot of serial killers have had injuries as a child, but
Okay, but I think we'd be hard pressed to find a child that didn't have a head injury. I mean, I think to myself, I'm like, how many times did I smash my head or have a concussion as a child? A couple, a
I've got that
couple, which may
scar.
explain a few things.
I've got that scar on my head, and
See,
I don't.
I I mean, when I think I was eighth grade. I think it was eighth grade. We were in a gym, and I don't know, like it was almost Christmas time, and I don't know why they had us in socks. I think it was because they didn't want to scuff the gym floor because it had been freshly waxed. So, when you put a bunch of kids in socks on a gym floor
Yeah, they're
that's
gonna
freshly
slide.
waxed, it's always a good idea. But then they had us playing a game where we were in like a chain and one person was on a towel and they were supposed to be Santa Claus and we were their reindeer pulling them. It was like a relay race. And I just remember one kid pulled me one way because I was in the middle of the chain. You never want to be the middle, kind of like the human centipede, but
Ew.
we we
I've never seen any of those movies, and I refuse to. I will not watch those
you,
movies.
you don't want to, but I mean, I got pulled one way and then I got pulled another way and then they kind of let go of me. So I went sliding and my feet flew out from under me and I smashed my head on the gym floor. Like, and the teachers all said they heard the clunk
Ooh.
of my head hit the floor. And I blacked out for maybe a couple seconds and I woke up and everybody was around me, just tunnel vision. Everyone was around me and everyone's kind of horrified. And then they're like, "Are you okay?" And of course, as a child, you're embarrassed. I
Yeah.
don't want to act like I'm injured. So I scramble up, like, "I'm fine. I'm fine. No one look at me. There's nothing to see here, people. Everything's good." And yeah, I mean, they called my mom and I went home. But my mother was pissed that they did not call an ambulance. When she found out, she's like, "You blacked out?" I said, "Yes." She's like, "You have a concussion and a bad one, and they didn't call you an ambulance?" Like, she was raging mad because she was an RN, and she was so angry. But I mean, that was bad. I think that's probably the worst head injury I've ever had, but I mean, that was a good one.
Yeah. So Thad was awarded $21 million in damages in 1997. Now, Clark's obviously never going to be able to pay that, but yeah, he could write a
Can't get
book.
blood from a turnip.
He could write a book or sell the rights to the story for a movie. I mean, Gacy's Law is basically a criminal can't, this after John Wayne Gacy, because he was making money off of his paintings and stuff like that. But a criminal can't make money off of their own crime like that. Yeah, but a movie studio would probably pay good money for the story from Clark, and then that money could be given to Thad. You know, but
Or Thad could just sell his story. I mean, that's.
Oh yeah, but we're talking about I just don't understand them awarding $21 million when Thad's never going to be able to or when Joe is never going to be able to pay that, But
At that point, it's just it's here's your consolation prize. We're gonna say you won $21 million, but
right,
you're never
it's
gonna
like
see it.
I pick the winning lottery numbers every week, but they draw the wrong ones.
Mm-hmm. I know. I've won the Powerball many times. I can tell you this.
Yeah. Thad was through therapy eventually able to walk again, and that's amazing. I'm sure he walks with a limp, but at least he can walk.
I mean, he might have been. I mean, he obviously he wasn't lucky, but but I mean, the fact that he's young and it happened is so much better because I mean,
Yeah.
some two old people like us. I mean, if that happened to us, I mean, we're probably never walking again. But a
Yeah.
teenager is gonna recover and be able to overcome injuries that are much more catastrophic. So it was lucky for him that he was young and strong and able to really recover.
Right. But the Chris Steiner case was reopened and his body was actually exhumed. Because remember when he said that he did this to the same thing to a kid named Chris, and they assumed correctly that it was Chris Steiner. They did a post-mortem autopsy on Chris, and it revealed that the injuries to it revealed injuries that were his legs that were identical to Thad's. But the reason that it hadn't come up, when they initially found Chris, was that they just thought it was a drowning victim, and his body, was so bloated and everything. The injuries were, you couldn't see the injuries because of how badly bloated his body was. So they weren't looking for femur and hip and ankle breaks and everything that were done intentionally. The foul play was never suspected, and it was basically listed as a drowning victim. Which, I mean, you can
tell. I mean,
an
accident. I mean, I
right.
mean, even if who knows? I mean, it could have been a suicide victim or could something. I mean, you never really know. I mean, you just find him in the water.
It was just listed as drowning. But Joe Clark, for the murder of Chris Steiner, he was charged with first-degree homicide, mayhem, and causing bodily harm to a child. Yeah, he of course pleaded not guilty, and he maintains his innocence to this day. And yeah, they all do. Well, not all of them. Some of them are like, yeah, I fucking did it. But
yeah.
But he was found guilty anyway, and he was found guilty of all counts, and he received a life sentence with no parole for 60 years. This guy's never getting out. Joe Clark is never getting out. He got 100 years for Thad the Durable and 60 for Chris. And it doesn't say if these were consecutive or concurrent, but either way, he's never getting out, because even if he serves 60 years for Steiner, and is eligible for parole, he'd be almost 80 at that point. And then he'd still have to do another 40 years for what he did to Thad. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200.
Yeah.
But he won't be breaking anybody else's legs, and he should be worried about breaking his own legs once he gets up in later years. And that would be so poetic if he fell and broke a femur in prison, or if somebody did it for him.
Wow. And someone pushed him down the stairs of the prison ward. Bye. Here you go.
So later on, Thad would have another brush with death. He wasn't actually able to testify against Clark at the trial because of the fact that right before he was supposed to go to court, another teen had shot Thad twice in the back, and the trial was delayed. This was supposedly...
What happened against this poor Thad?
Well, getting there, like right now. This was supposedly self-defense from the other teen because Thad was allegedly roughing him up. But Thad was shot and survived, so he's definitely a descendant of Michael Malloy.
Wow.
But according to a Reddit thread that I found, the guy that shot Thad was a friend of Joe Clark's, and this guy was later arrested for a child molestation. So that seems legit.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, Thad was roughing him up. He felt threatened.
But I mean, Thad has been, he's been doing his thing, getting along really well. I don't really have much information on like what he's doing and everything, but I mean, he's doing as well as he could be. And I mean, if he was ever in a like a conversation with, like in Jaws, where they're comparing scars and everything, I'm sorry, right, but Thad wins.
Yeah. And drink to your leg, I'll drink to my leg. All right.
Yeah.
We'll drink to each other's legs.
We'll drink to each other's legs. And then of course the USS Indianapolis story. That was the scariest part in that movie, was his story about the USS Indianapolis. That was the scariest part of that entire movie. It had nothing to do with, with the shark. It had to do with a real fucking story. And the way that actor delivered that was fucking spectacular. He should have won a fucking Emmy for that.
Oh yeah, I do love when he's talking about the shark. It's like, it's like got them dark eyes, them black eyes, like a doll's eyes.
Yeah.
Don't even know he's alive till he bites you.
Yeah.
And then my eyes roll over white. Hear that terrible high pitched scream. Like, well done.
Yeah,
well done.
We covered the Indianapolis a while back. And that episode, listeners dug that episode. We did it about the same time that those chuckleheads were like taking that frickin' Sega Genesis controlled submarine down, and then it like collapsed.
PlayStation. I think it was a play, or was it a Dreamcast? I can't remember. I don't know. Yeah, that's
But we did it, and Titanic Mania had like swept the country again. Everybody's like, "Oh, the Titanic," and then blah 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 blah. So it's just like it's like, all right, you want a real freaking shipwreck story? It's time we give the Indianapolis, a cover, because that is, I mean, the Titanic wasn't even an American ship; it was a British ship.
Well, and it was I guess it was just one of those things where it was with the Titanic, the fact that it never had to sink, that the Carpathia was probably close enough to, I think it was not the Carpathia, the one ship was close enough to save almost everybody. if they'd have just gone there.
Yeah.
But it's and just with it being the most
do you want to
gilded
do you want to
ship.
do a Titanic conspiracies episode at some point? We can do that if you want.
Believe in that stuff.
Okay. Well,
It was. I think it's silly to feed into those things. I'm like, it was a Titanic, and it's saying, and you know, there's a bunch. There's so many. Like people say, oh, it was the Olympus that sank. It's like, no, it
yeah,
was the Titanic.
it
Like
was the Titanic.
it's,
Uh-oh.
yeah, it was, or sank for insurance purposes or something, and
Yeah.
it's
Bullshit. Oh, man.
yeah, and
But
it is all bullshit. I mean, if it was something that I felt like it held water. Well, I mean, the Titanic does hold water now, but
yeah.
I mean,
you know the pool is
the
still
swimming
completely
pool is still full. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if it was something that I felt like could be true, then I'd say yeah. But
So what are your thoughts on this case as far as, I mean, just, closing thoughts and everything. Let's discuss it a little bit.
this one's interesting because again, I really want to go and research his parents and what they thought and what they said in court or testified. There must be something out there about what they did or said or where they were or so I mean, because it's just too convenient that he's alone for days
Yeah.
in a house able to torture this kid and nobody knows.
I agree. And it's just like I couldn't find anything. And I looked. And it's just like I couldn't find it. There wasn't even anything on Reddit. There's usually always something on Reddit.
Yeah. Even if it's bullshit, there's always something on Reddit.
Yeah. But
yeah, he's definitely. I mean, I think if he hadn't been caught, he would have continued to harm more and more.
Well, it only takes
boys.
it only takes 3 deaths to be labeled as a serial killer. It's 3, and he was that journal that they found. He was clearly that was his intention. I mean that's.
And I also wonder too, again, like the warning signs of someone like that as a child. Was he torturing animals? Was he? Because I have a hard time believing that one day he just decided he was gonna go get a kid and do this.
No, he's probably started torturing animals. And hindsight being 2020, I probably should have just researched this rather than just going back to the old episode and everything, because I might have, because that was so early in the podcast and everything. I probably do a lot better job at researching now. I might have been able to find something else, but I did look, I did look for things about his parents and stuff like that, and I just couldn't find anything. But still, I mean, I'm not going to get into the habit of redoing old episodes and everything. This is now the 3rd time that I've done it. Any other thoughts on old Joe Clark and Thad the Durable?
Well, I'm really glad that Thad was able to get out, and because of him, who knows how many lives he saved because he was able to break free and stop this before, this guy could become a true serial killer and live out his fantasies of breaking people's bones and listening to the sounds and and bringing them down to watch TV, because that's what you do.
Hey, Survivor's on. Let's go watch Survivor. that was bad, but
We can next we can watch Naked and Afraid. Then then Unsolved Mysteries.
Wait, was Survivor on in '95?
I don't know.
I think it was. I don't know. I've never seen a single episode of that. I hate reality TV.
Well, I mean, when that episode came out, when it was 95, I was only about 13 years old. So, I mean,
yeah.
Unlike some of us.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks a lot for listening. We appreciate the hell out of it. Like, subscribe, share, comment. You can comment on YouTube. You can comment on Spotify. You can comment on Apple. There's also the socials and everything. Those are all linked in the episode and whatnot. And check those out and everything. We want to get interaction going in the socials. So especially the Facebook page.
You want to get what in the socials? What is
interaction?
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
What did you think I said?
I was like, we want to get an erection. We do. That is completely what that sounded like.
Interaction.
And for a minute, I was very confused, but at the same time, I guess I went, okay. Interaction.
Interaction. Yeah.
Interaction.
So, and if you like us, tell a friend. If you hate us, tell a foe. And until next week, later.
Bye.